Honorable Chair, I rise to report that a quorum does exist for the Joint Committee to commence business.
Thank you, Director. It has been reported that a quorum does exist for the Joint Committee to commence business. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say the ayes have it. Thank you. Can someone move a motion for us to adopt the agenda?
Yes, I have a motion for us to adopt the agenda.
Any second that? It has been moved and seconded that we adopt the agenda as it is. The next on the itinerary is to go in straight for the introduction of members. I will start with myself. I am Honorable Larry Desane, National Assembly Member for Brikama South, co-chair of the Joint Committee of Fpac and Ppac.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Honorable Kawal Fifana, nominated member of Fpac and member.
Good morning, Honorable Salud Biawa Jokadu, member of Public Enterprise Committee and the Joint Committee as well. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Samba Diallo, member of Nyamene Kampugu, member of Ppac and also of the Joint Committee.
Assalamu alaikum, Honorable Almami Jiba, Funi Councillor, member of Public Enterprise Committee and also member of the Joint Committee.
Good morning. I am Lion. She's a member of Kelvin's constituency.
Good morning. I am Honorable Keva Hatumani Sane, National Assembly Member for Nijaro, and a member to the Finance and Public Accounts Committee.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Honorable Musa Chan, member of the Fpac Committee.
Good morning, Suleiman Jammeh, member of Budum, Fpac committee member. Good morning, subject resolutions.
Good morning. I am the Secretary General, Petroleum Committee.
Good morning, Suleiman Jalada, National Member.
Good morning, I am Modubaji from the National Audit Office.
Good morning, I am Fatmata Kesi South, the Sergeant of the committee.
Good morning, I am Halima Tuta. Good morning, I am Halima Tuta, a clerk to the committee.
Thank you. Mr. Witness.
Good morning, I'm Mr. Modu Haidara, General Manager, Jawel Company.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction. And next on the itinerary is the administration of vote. Madam Tama, this is possible.
I'll speak the truth.
I'll speak the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me Allah. So I can leave it first.
Thank you, Mr. Haidara, the Managing Director, Jawel, the technician here in present, both Mr. Chan and the Office of the Auditor General, esteemed members of Fpac and Ppac, the committee clerks and the whole of Secretariat that are here in present, the media team, and the journalists that are here today, may I extend a warm morning greetings to each and every one of you. Today in the morning, we come back to continue on our mandate that is given to us by the plenary. Mr. Mahmoud Haidara, on the 22nd of July, 2024, a parliamentary motion was tabled in the plenary suggesting an inquiry for a petroleum product of 36,934 metric ton, equivalent to 30 million US dollars. And this was referred to Finance and Public Account Committee and Standing Committee on Public Enterprise as a joint committee. And these are petroleum products. The report shows that there was an issue of bribery, tax evasion by Apache FZC, Creek Energy Limited, and Ultimate Veg on the sales of this petroleum product in the country. Based on that, we as a committee, we sat and identified all the stakeholders that we feel are connected to this, to invite them to have a frank discussion about the whole issue in order to unearth the realities of the whole saga, after which we will analyze and generate a report to present to the plenary and advise the government what to do. Based on this, I want to draw your attention to a constitutional provision that also mandated us to embark on this interesting exercise. Section 109 of the 1997 Constitution, sub 2, the committee may appoint A, to investigate or inquire into activities or administration of ministries or department of the government, and such investigation and inquiry may extend to making proposal for legislation. B, to investigate any matter of public interest. Then you come to 110 of the 1997 Constitution. That's contempt of the National Assembly. Any act or omission which obstruct or impede the National Assembly in the performance of its function, or which obstruct or impede any member or officer of the National Assembly in discharge of his or her duties, or affront the dignity of the National Assembly, shall be a contempt of the National Assembly, and in addition to any liability in respect thereof. Under the criminal law, the offender shall be liable to reprimand or admonition by the National Assembly, and if the offender is a member of the National Assembly, suspension or expulsion from the National Assembly. Then 119, privilege of the witness. Every person summoned to give an evidence or to provide any paper, book or records or other document before the National Assembly or any committee of the National Assembly shall be entitled, in respect of his or her evidence, or the production of such document, as the case may be, to the same privilege as if he or she were appearing before a court. Where the President or any other, or any member of the cabinet certify the disclosure of the content of any document sought by the National Assembly or a committee of the National Assembly will be injurious to the public interest or prejudicial to the security of the state, the National Assembly or such committee shall only give consideration to such document in private under such condition as will prevent the disclosure of the content of such document outside the National Assembly or the committee. as the case may be, and shall not publish the document or its content. So based on these things, we only draw your attention. What we need is the whole truth, and we want to have a frank discussion with you, what you know about the whole saga. So I will now invite the lead questioner to take us through the set of questions that we prepared regarding on what you know about the whole issue. So on that note, I want to invite the Right Honorable Kemal Fofana to lead us in the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Mr. Henry, you are welcome to today's proceedings of the Joint Committee of Fpac and PEC. As earlier alluded to by the Chairman, I'll go straight to starting the question. Mr. Kaheda, can you tell us who is Jao Coming? What do you do?
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you for this present here. It's indeed an honor to be here to share what I know. Jao Company is a Gambian company registered in 2005 as a small business in the petroleum sector. And over the years, under the leadership of Mr. Hamid Richard as the proprietor and the group lead, the group head, over the years it has developed to become one of the country's leading petroleum products distributor in the country, which is 100% Gambian owned, and I think is quite an achievement in the history of this country. Today we are blessed with about 29 retail stations, including about 2 or 3 premix stations in the country. And this is the company that sets the base for the JAR Group. That's the foundation that has also evolved and created other businesses around it. Be it the JAR Multi Industry, JAR Agri Foods, and now we are into the making of a petroleum trading and storage company. Fastly in the making. So in a nutshell, that is JAR Company.
So yeah, what is the status of JAR Company in the petroleum industry?
Well, like I said, it is one of the major distributors in the sector. Having said that, having said that, what that means is today in the Gambia is one of the major. It's a battery problem. It's one of the major distributor of the petroleum product in the country today, and one of the most important in the sense that it has now evolved not to be only privately owned, but if you look at it, it has graduated into being public interest enterprise in the country today. And in that sector also, we're glad to also always say that it's one of the biggest taxpayers in the sector.
In your response, you did indicate that you have 29 petrol stations. Does it mean that JAR Oil is predominantly engaged in the inland distribution of petroleum products only? Or are you active in other areas?
Well, nationally, yes, this is what I'm talking about. That is in the Gambia. When you look across the border also, we have spread.
No, we'll limit it to the Gambia.
Okay.
In the Gambia, Are you only operating at the distribution level?
Yes, predominantly.
Can you provide the certificates of registration of Oil and all other documentation?
What do you mean, the certificate of?
Your registration certificate.
Registrations, yes, we can provide that. If I had one, I would have gone with them.
No, that's enough. Mr. Edgar.
Yes, sir.
Do you know about clean energy?
Yes. Clean energy, like I always want to put it, is we see them as a business, because the way we come to know about clean energy,
sorry about that.
It's all right. Yes, clean energy, we come to know about clean energy, I think latter part of 2022, if my memory serves me right, into 2023. And the only way we know about them is we heard about Apoji in the country, a company called Apoji that sells petroleum product as an importer or a trader into the country. And then we had discussions so that because we source petroleum products from traders abroad.
Can you clarify the Apoji for us? Is it Apoji FZC or Apoji FZE?
To be honest, I don't pay attention much on the latter letters, because sometimes you will see Apoji FZC, and then at one invoice which was also revised, it was Apoji Gambia. And then, but that didn't fly because that was a query that I saw Apoji Gambia. So, but in the bottom line is, when you buy from Apoji,
let's clarify on the name. So,
how I know them on paper is FZC.
FZC. But do you have other documentation where it will be Apoji FZ something different from C?
Not that I can remember, honestly.
Then you may proceed.
So the only way I come to know about Creed is when you buy from Apoji, the invoice and the receipts is issued by Creed Energy.
What do you buy from Apoji?
Petroleum product, diesel, to be specific. On very few occasions, if I could remember 3 times. And then what prompted that was because, you know, we have a light network, and our need for the product is key. And
we'll break it down, then we'll lead you. Let's get this step by step. You said you came to learn about clean energy when you had the need to buy petroleum products.
Yes.
And after making inquiries about Apoji, that's how you came to find about clean energy.
Yes, through their invoicing and the receipts.
Who introduced you to Apoji?
Well, we were inside of petroleum product because by then our supplier, that happens to be PSTV, is our traditional supplier. And then they ran out, or they were scaling down into the country. And once they scale down, we have to quickly search where we can get petroleum product. And that is when we were told that actually from colleagues that there is enough product at the depot owned by one company called Apoji. And that is how we contacted them. And then they said one of the key person resides in a hotel. By telephone, we contacted, and then we showed interest. And then, but when, yes.
Let's get this to the levels. When your site for petroleum product was right, who gave you the information that Apoji have sufficient stock at the depot?
Well, to be honest, because when Apoji came in here, it was not of a secret. It was known because for us, the OMCs, some of us who place in the market, we share information very quickly.
Okay.
So if somebody knows about product availability in somewhere or anything, it goes around very quickly. We even have a group sometimes we share information from. So immediately we knew there is a new actor in the called Apoji that has stock in those tanks. So that is how, when we were running out of product because of PSTV's inavailability, and then we didn't also see a new person where we can purchase product quickly, then we said, let us get some from them to keep our stations running until we can find another supplier.
And eventually, you were directed to their representative who resides in a hotel.
Yes.
Can you give us the name of that representative? That he was in?
The name is one Oris Maz, I don't know, something like that.
What was his position?
Well, they say he's the rep. That's what we are told. I don't know what his actual portfolio is in the company, but they say he's a rep.
Can you tell us?
Tell us. Like to continue?
How did you do the transactions? How did you initiate?
Yeah. Like I said, then we called a number that we have and then showed interest. And then he said we should tell him how much. We told him the quantity, I'm not sure. It's one of the receipts, one of the invoices and receipts I've submitted. That is the first transaction. I don't remember the quantity. And then when we told him, then we had an invoice plus the bank details on it. And then that is when I first saw Crete on it. And then I said, well, how is it that Apoji and then now it is Crete? They said Crete is the local brand, is the local representative that is doing transactions in the country. I don't want to find out to go much into details as to why Crete is creeping up instead of Apoji being the person we are referred to. It's an internal matter for them. For us, what is important for us is we want product.
Let's get this.
Yeah.
Who gave you the Crete energy invoice?
It was sent to us by, let me just do some refreshment here. Because like I said, we did very few transactions with them.
No, we want to know, when you made payments.
Let me check something here.
And you agreed on a transaction by Petroleum products. But eventually, how did you receive the energy invoice?
Usually they will send this thing either by, they will send it by email, typically.
We can proceed. We will get to that. We can proceed. Now, having received the Crete energy invoice, did you confirm its authenticity from Arimas?
The authenticity of the invoice.
Because you said,
of course, have to ask questions. That when we receive an invoice for the first time, but that is this, they said no, it's not a problem. It's the same company. So that puts our mind to rest, and then we proceeded.
Which means you came to know about Crete energy after contacting Apoji to buy petroleum products.
Sure.
Instead of them invoicing you using the name Apoji, they invoice you using Crete energy.
Yeah.
Do you know Ultimate Beach Logistics?
To be very honest, I don't know anything about Ultimate Beach Logistics. The one I am familiar with the few transactions we had, is Crete. Maybe. Yeah, it's Crete. That's all. I don't know much about. I don't know anything about Ultimate.
You've never had any business transactions with them?
Not that I can remember. But with Crete, yes.
You've never done any business transaction that will lead you to Ultimate Beach?
Not that I know of. Or I can't remember actually.
Now,
because,
okay, you were about to say something.
Yeah, because you know how these transactions go, it's usually not very, it's not a long process. It's a telephone call away. You indicate your need, for example, I need 100 or 200,000 liters. And then they give you the price, you do the calculations. You understand? You tell them, send me an invoice, then they send you an invoice, and then you do the payment, and once you do the payment, you get your receipts. It's very, very straightforward as far as we are concerned.
Since you didn't know much about Ultimate Bid, or you didn't know anything about Ultimate Bid, let's conclude on it. Why do you think it was really strange that you received an invoice in the name of Green Energy instead of Abuja?
Well, to be very honest, to tell you my honest opinion,
no, let's base it on the normal procedures.
That's what I'm trying to tell you here. That's why I will write that.
Yes.
To be very honest, for us, when we are told that Apoji owns the product, and then our Apoji is telling you it is okay for Crete to do the transactions because it's the local company. So for us, what we're just thinking is maybe it's their representative in the country. That's what goes into the mind, that maybe they are not registered and Crete is registered. That's all.
Earlier on, you did indicate that you were dealing with PSTV.
PSTV.
Was it the same thing?
No, that one is different.
Will they sell you fuel and then bill you an invoice bearing another entity's name?
No.
In explicit terms.
Well, PSTV is very direct, it's very straightforward. They are traders, and what traders typically do is they bring the product. For example, if you order from them Jawel, you say, for example, I need 3,000 metric tons. They'll bring you a parcel of 3,000 metric tons. Alongside that, they might bring extra, which they will dump into the tanks. So that if there is anybody else who needs fuel, or for us, for example, we run out and our next order is not forthcoming yet, we can still buy from them with what they have left, that excess in the tank. And it is always very straightforward. You send your request by email, they respond whether they have it, they invoice you with that response. You pay, they receive you receive your this thing. So those ones are like, they're not actors on the ground. These are international traders. Their activities are limited in the bonded warehouse, that is GP. But for the first time, I'm seeing this kind of a transaction whereby a trader is nationally involved.
Let's reconcile the two. What was Apoji's role? Or what was their status? Or what is their current status?
Well, to be very honest, I think that will be, when it comes to their status, whether they are actually a legit trader or a distributor.
When we are buying from them?
When we are buying, that's what I'm saying.
As a distributor, or were you buying from them as a trader?
Well, for us, when we are buying from them, we view them as a trader, but we also see that they are also distributors, effectively.
Now, let's concentrate on their status as a trader. You did indicate that DSTV are traders and not actors on the ground. Now, can you tell us what rules are there in the petroleum trade that governs the behavior of traders?
Yeah, there are categories. For example, the OMCs, the oil marketing companies, that are nationally registered, that is Jawel and the others. We are registered here, licensed here, to import and distribute petroleum products. We have to get that license to be able to play in that field. But when it comes to the traders, these are international traders. Their activities are limited to international, like they bring the products and supply the OMCs, us who orders from them.
So which means traders cannot bring, if at all, a request by an existing OMC is not made?
From experience, what I have seen traders do in the past is they have to get a request because that's the guarantee that they have market. That once they have that market, sometimes they might start with only one person. But going forward, they also want to have more business. So even though they are bringing for that one person who brought them into the country, they will bring extras. In that extras, they will look for other OMCs who might be interested in ordering product from them. So that's the essence of bringing that extra, which they will put in the depot. And that is where their activities are limited, within the high seas and the depot, and that's where the door closes at them. Then from the depot going further, that is where the OMCs play. That is the OMCs who are registered and licensed in this country. Those are the ones who takes it to the other level, nationally.
So it means the OMCs are the ones who initiate a request from a trader. The trader brings in his product and then deposits it at the depot. In this case, Petroleum. And then the OMCs will pick it from the depot and do the inland distribution. Am I right?
That is basically, in essence, yes.
In this case, do you happen to know which OMC made a request from Abuja? Was that initial custom or the OMC they were dealing with when they came in?
I don't know of any OMCs that initiated Abuja into this country. Maybe the depot might be privy to that information if they have it. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not aware.
Mr. Taylor, in your statement, you did indicate that Apoji was the only company at some point who was given privileges to have absolute allocations in terms of what units, to a point that you described it as a monopoly.
With good reasons, yes. And I will run you down to that a little bit.
Yes.
Because usually
I want to have specifics.
Yes.
During this period, how many times did Jawel as a company made requests for unages at the depot?
Several.
And do you have any number?
I can't remember because most of the time, all I can tell you is it's been numerous. Some of them.
Was it 5 times?
It could be more. It could be more or less.
It could be more or less. So we would need the number of instances, the number of times that you've requested. Have your requests ever been approved?
No. No.
Why?
Like you mentioned, the issue of Apoji for us as OMCs who are registered in this country has been very difficult for us during the period, and I will tell you. Because the depot, we all know the Gambia, the GP, the Gambia Petroleum, Gambia Petroleum depot, it's a very small depot by capacity. And they can only store very limited amount of product. And all the OMCs in this country who are registered, that's where they should be stored, that's where they store their products for all world distribution. Now, what becomes very disheartening is when we realize that one player who very little is known about has been given very high percentage of the depot, if not all, to store. And that's where we had a problem, because we were struggling to bring in vessels to store like we used to do, and as mandated and as per our license that were issued to us that we can import and store, and then it becomes very difficult. Every time we apply is a rejection. And then
were any reasons advanced?
I'm coming to that, it's a rejection. And then anytime they will say they don't have space. So when this thing becomes obvious that rejections are becoming too much, that is when we monitor the situation at a personal point of view to make sure we know actually whether actually it is true that there are no storage space left. And the only way we knew this was we monitored the stock, daily stock report.
No, we'll get to that. we have questions on the daily stock report, and then when you realize there was space and you did eventually apply and what happened, we'll get to that. But at this point, we want to make reference to, your statement where you indicated that there was a board resolution passed in 2017 to resolve the issue of village among the OMCs. Was Appointed an OMC?
No, as far as I know.
Were they applying for ULIT?
For sure, through the depot, I don't know how, but yes, maybe. Because if they're getting space, they must apply for it.
And they were being allocated space.
Yes.
To dump in their fuel. Precisely, can you tell us when did you realize that having access to or having approval for your ULIT applications was becoming a problem? Which time precisely did it start?
This was around June I believe. June, July of 2023.
June, July 2023?
Yes.
Up to when?
Up till very recently, you know, when they wind down their operations.
Before this period, was there any policy pronouncement or a board resolution which might be different from that which was passed in 2017?
Not that I know of. It's possible, but I don't know of any resolution on knowledge.
After this period, till date, have you come across any communication or policy from the ministry which might state otherwise than the industrial norm that was passed in 2017?
Regarding knowledge?
Regarding knowledge, yes.
Not that I know of.
Not that you know. So why do you think Appointed was being replaced?
Well, it's every man's guess. It could be anybody's guess. I don't know for certain, because if I have to be certain why they were given those undue privileges, I just have to be personally, it just creates suspicions around that if there is a space that all the OMCs should share and now it's been given to one person, that is an eyebrow to raise. Why? And this is the why question we've been asking. Not only Yahweh, but all the other OMCs, as to why is it that, you know, such a huge space is given to one, and then the others cannot even get a piece of that space. And all the time you apply, it's just a no, or one reason after the other. There is no space. It is mind-blowing, in my opinion.
Is it your submission that it was not only Yahweh who was denied, but no other OMC was having ULIT at the depot?
That's what I strongly believe, because there were complaints from other OMCs when I was complaining too.
Can you give us examples of those OMCs?
Like, for example, I will cite Oryx as an example. Because right around June, July, when we applied for that, when we monitored the stock balance in the tanks, because the stock balance will tell you how much stocks is in that tank and how much space is left. So we monitored it and we realized that at some point there was a significant space left.
I'll come to that, as I indicated. We have pertinent questions to that one. But to draw the routine on this, was it correct that ULIT was being given to an international trader?
Was it what?
Was it correct?
No, it's not correct, according to the norms and regulations. That's wrong.
And you haven't had or received any policy announcement from the ministry which might suggest that traders can equally apply for ULIT before?
No, traders can equally apply for OLE. That's not a problem. But where the problem is, the OMCs are given preference, because these are the people who are paying and who are licensed and paying the taxes, and who has all the required documentation to do business in this country. So what they've been doing over the years is, yes, OMCs can apply, traders can also apply. This is why traders always need OMCs on the side, so that when they are bringing product, they bring it in the name of that OMC. Then when there is excess left, you can also put that in your name as a trader. For example, PSTV can have product in their name, but it's minimum, not in the max. The OMCs are given preference to have the lion's share of that space, and then the traders come next.
But in this case, what happened?
It's the opposite.
Tell us in explicit terms.
The opposite, what I mean by that is, of course, Apogee was having almost over 80% of the space or more, and the OMCs couldn't even have a space, especially major OMCs like ourselves, who have been ordering fuel in this country on a regular basis. And then it becomes very mind-blowing that actually anytime we apply, we are rejected, we apply, we are rejected. And then even if there is space at some point, we also reject it. So it was mind-blowing to just realize that it is wrong. It has never been the norm.
In your statement, you indicate that the depots granting Apogee almost, as you stated, monopoly in the depot almost created a situation which, in your words, would have been catastrophic for the country. Can you tell us what
that is true? Because what was happening, we have the right to order petroleum products. We are licensed to do this. And the only place we have to store it is at the depot. Now, here's a situation whereby you cannot order petroleum product because you will not have space. The whole space has been occupied by a company that little is known about. And then the problem, what that connotes, in my opinion, is if you cannot have space and there is product in town, you have no option but to purchase, or your fuel stations run dry. And this is why in those few occasions, this is the only driving factor why we have to purchase, because we're running dry. But it is a dangerous thing, in our opinion, because at some point it was becoming so untenable that we also have the right to say that we have the right to order. If we cannot order and we cannot have space, somebody has been favored. We just sit down and wait until that space is available, and that could be catastrophic.
Yes, but we had submission from Ghana Petroleum, which indicated the policy stand of the depot and the ministry to say that the role of the depot and the ministry is to ensure that petroleum is always available in town and accessible. That suggests that the preference given to Apogee could have been based on one factor standing out, which was reliability, suggesting that he had the financial muscle. Could it be that you do not have financial muscle? Had it been space was allocated to you, you would not have been able to provide?
I would call that not accurate, straight out. The financial muscle over the years, since when we started trading in the petroleum products, we have never failed a single month where we didn't bring products into this country to service our stations. Has never happened.
In average, how many metric tons of EGO and PMS do you bring to this country before 2023, in average?
Monthly?
Yes.
Okay. The monthly averages are based on your monthly consumption as a business. And the reason why we limit it to monthly, I just want you to understand that the Gambia pricing instrument they use, it is measured every month. For example, we would have loved to bring 10,000 metric tons to save us the time of monthly ordering, so that, you know, it gives us a break for 2 or 3 months. But in the Gambian system, you cannot afford to bring 10,000 metric tons, put them in those tanks. Maybe you buy for this month at $10 is I'm just giving an example, per ton this month. And then come next month, because of the fluctuation of the petroleum prices, the prices drop to $5. That's a huge blow and a losses. This is why OMCs always measure their monthly consumption exact so that they mitigate losses. This is why our monthly sometimes is between 3,000 to 3,500 metric tons. Sometimes we can absorb 4,000 metric tons per AGO.
Is that the accumulation of both the PMS and the AGO?
No. I'm talking about AGO.
AGO.
It ranges between these.
3,000?
Yes, between 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 at most.
Yeah.
And for PMS, we are between 2,500 to 3,000. You understand? But now PMS have come to a point, at some point, they almost match with the AGO. So if you have to bring AGO 3,000, you have to bring PMS 3,000 on average every month. So but we limit it on a monthly basis so that we can mitigate losses, because we don't want to be in a situation you have a tank full of product but prices have dropped.
And this has been going on consistently?
Consistently, on a regular basis without fail.
Currently, how much is your average monthly consumption?
Currently, we are doing for PMS 3,000, and then for AGO we are doing between 3,500 to 5,000 sometimes.
Which means cumulatively?
Between the two, when you add them together, it could be between 7,000 to 8,000.
Your request to the depot, the various requests that were rejected, can you take us through, and at every interval or every request tell us how much food did you request for?
I could remember one of the reason why, one of them I requested for 6,000, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And the reason for that was because, like I told you, our traditional supply was out of the market. And then we were searching. Sometimes you have spot sellers. What that means is you stumble upon a good deal. But this is not a traditional trader. It's just a deal that you have stumbled upon, he's selling. You capitalize on it based on your agreed prices and you buy. So when you stumble on such kind of deals, you want to maximize your orders, because it's like you have just stumbled upon a deal and then you don't want to miss it, so you want to store an excess.
You requested for 6,000 metric tons.
Yes.
Was it approved?
It was not.
What was the reason advance?
The reason advance was there was no space.
Did you have any other request that was rejected, which you can recall?
Yes, I think about 3 other requests were all rejected in the same manner. 3 or 4 of them, that there was no space.
There was no space.
That's the only reason they give. But one of the last ones that brought a feud between us and the depot was when we wrote for a request for haulage, and then they said there was no space. They replied. And then we looked into the stock report and we realized that there was enough space at the depot, 9,000 metric tons to be precise at the time. And then I said this cannot, then I asked the other colleagues, did anybody apply for haulage? Then they said no. One of them, I think Oryx, said he also applied, but he was rejected. And I said, then the space is for who? Then that is when I wrote back to ask for at least an explanation, because something is not right here.
Who did you write to?
I wrote to the GP and the general manager of GP.
Okay.
To give an explanation at least. At least, you know, if you are saying that there is no space, and I'm seeing abundant space in your depot, at least give me an explanation as to why are you rejecting me. But I think that it didn't go down well on him.
Did he eventually respond?
He responded.
Okay. What did he say?
It was bad. It was it was a personal attack. I think I submitted one of that. Instead of focusing on matters that I am requesting, I think it ended up being a personal attack.
The people's private life.
And then, which also didn't go down well on me. And then I reported. And at the end, it becomes...
Tell us, when you wrote to him, requesting for an explanation as to why your application for unit was rejected, even though space was available, what was his response?
His response was, he's trying to paint me, the writer, as malicious. Like, even though going direct to give me a simple one-line or two-line explanation, there is no space because space X you are seeing in the system has been booked by Mr. Whoever. Whatever explanation you have to give, he didn't give that, but his letter was not very nice to put it to you in a very straightforward manner. His letter was not straightforward, it was not right on point.
Did the letter indicate anything that would suggest why the space was not allocated to you?
No, he didn't. He didn't go because he knows what I am trying to dig out, because he knows at the time attentions were on approachee, that they're the one, been allocated all the space. So, but all he told me was, there was no space, there was no space. Even though I could see that there was space at the time.
So eventually, when you realized that you could not have space from Petroleum, what did you do?
So eventually, when that happened, it becomes a push and pull. Because by then, I was trying to follow the due process so that they can be called to explain. And the only options I had at the time was, number one, to write a protest letter to him, indicating my frustration, and to also give it to him in kind, the way he gave it. Number one. And number two also was to involve PURA, the public regulatory, to intervene, to see and investigate, to see if we are treated right or wrong. And also, I involved the ministry to also intervene, to see if we are treated right or wrong. All this time around, I'm just trying to find a solution so that, they can put him in his right place, that what he is doing is not right.
And eventually, what was the outcome of that?
Well, the outcome of that, PURA did wrote, after it took them a while, after they inquired into it, and they categorically wrote to him that.
To him?
To him.
Specific?
Yes, to the GM of
Petroleum, right?
Yes, they wrote to GP to tell them that actually, haulage should be treated fairly. You understand? And then they put it to him that you cannot be allocating an entire space or 80% of the space to one trader, whilst the others are struggling to have a piece. So a letter was written to that effect. And I think from that end, we still continue to struggle.
When did you write? Which month and year?
I think there was in my submission, I couldn't remember the date, but if you check, allow me to scroll through.
Yes.
Okay, this was the Later I wrote to him asking for an explanation, and then
precisely you want to know when did FINRA respond?
That's what I'm trying to see here. Public Utilities. Okay. And this was my letter to Pura on the 18th of July.
Okay.
Requesting for mediation and action.
Okay.
And then so you asked for this response. This was the reply I got from GP when I asked for an explanation.
Okay.
This was the response
from Petroleum.
Yes.
Okay.
For Pura's response, I am surprised.
If you do not have it,
yes, I can allocate. I can give you that.
You can provide it. But eventually, did you receive any response from the ministry?
The ministry, when I
regards to the protest letter.
Yes, when I protested and to Pura, and then Pura was late to respond back. And you know, I become very impatient. So I was calling different people, including the ministry, and that is when the ministry asked me that to at least put something on paper to officially to put my points as to why do I feel that things are not going well at the depot. What are my reasons? And I think that is when I wrote also to the ministry to explain the whole frustration and the whole saga and what has been going on.
Did they respond?
Yes, somehow yes, they responded, because the frustration was, number one.
No, how did they respond?
What?
In which form?
Not in writing. Not in writing, because what they ended up telling me is, since we couldn't have storage, I said, now what do we do? Because we cannot be forced to buy from a business that is not giving fair trade terms, or even if they give fair trade terms, it's a free market. We are not in a monopoly. We are free to order anywhere and from everybody. So that is when this issue of applying for alternative storage becomes an option.
Let's get this straight. When you were writing to the ministry, did you give them options? What did you actually ask for?
For the minister, the first letter I did was to explain the whole process of the audit, the whole confusion, and the whole everything that was happening at the depot with unfair allocation.
You wanted the ministry,
and I give dates.
Sorry. Which means you wanted the ministry to intervene at the depot.
Yes.
Did they intervene at the depot directly?
Not directly, in my opinion. Because
what did they do?
What they did was because at some point, even the ministry wants to intervene. If you have a tank that is already full and is filled with a petroleum product, and then your supply is telling you that I'm waiting for you to give me the green light because your product is with me. Even if they come to the source of the Gambia, it's still not going to solve the problem because the tanks are full. So the only option I got from the ministry was to give us an alternative to dump it in Senegal so that we can be transporting it overland, which we got.
So which means the ministry made no direct intervention at the depot?
As far as I am concerned, with the issue I had with them, that I can remember. No.
Do the ministry give you the alternatives now for you to be what? Dumping your fuel at Senegal?
That's the only option we have because the tanks are full here.
No, this is not you now. We are looking at the ministry. So which means now you don't have unity in the Gambia. Both you and the ministry have designed to feel that Gambia Petroleum is no go, right?
Yeah, we suggested to them because there is a letter. I'm coming to that. There is a letter after all these noise we had about the haulage. Then we suggested to them that now the only option we have, since we have already ordered for this product, and telling the supplier that I don't have haulage, it's going to be catastrophic. The charges will be huge, and it could be even a total loss. So the only option we have at the time was to apply to the ministry to allow us, because we have to tell this particular trader to put the fuel in Senegal, because they don't have a storage issue. But now the issue we have is where we need the help of the ministry is to allow us to be transporting this product across the border from Senegal.
How many metric tons did you?
About 6 million liters, about 6,000 metric tons.
6,000
metric tons.
And what does the ministry really need to do?
Well, at that time, all they need to do at that time as a damage control was to allow us, to give us that approval to be able to be transporting this fuel across the border from Senegal. You need that permit to do that according to the regulations. You cannot just go across the border and fill a tank and bring it without approval from the ministry.
And that was granted?
It was granted.
Normally, when you transport these fuels inland from Senegal, how does it go? The moment it enters the territory of the Gambia, does it go straight to your filling stations? Does it go to the depot?
No, yeah.
Where do you keep it?
Yeah, that's right. The only disadvantage to this overland transportation is, as the trucks rolls in, you have to go and dump them somewhere in your filling stations, because you cannot dump them at the depot. And Jawel also don't have the storage where he can dump those things. So what was happening is, you can only bring a limited number of supplies per your need. For example, we'll send our trucks over there, 10 trucks maybe, and then they fill them up, they come. So we distribute those across the country. It was not the cheapest thing to do, but at least it's an option.
Do you pay when you store this fuel in Senegal?
Do we pay what?
The storage facilities in Senegal, do you pay them?
Of course, they don't store the storages will always charge.
How much do you pay per metric?
I will get you that because our network in that one, someone in Dakar, they are the one who pays that for us. But I can get that information for you.
Okay. In your statement, you did indicate that there was a situation at the depot when the fuel stock of the OMCs were stolen. And well, the Malians.
Because the...
Sorry. Can you tell us precisely when did you notice this?
Okay. But before we get to that, let me just give you a rundown. I'll come to your question. Why I brought that along? Because the excuse the depot was advancing that why they have to give the entire tanks to Apogee to fill them was because OMCs left them.
I'll get to that.
Yeah, because they're connected. We have to connect these dots for you to see, to make sense.
I will come. For us, it's part of our responsibility to detach what we might presume
Understood.
to be opinions. We'll get to it, not in the way and form that you might think, but we'll get to every bit and piece of it. Now let's get to the issue of this story.
Yeah, because at one point, actually, whilst we, when you have stock in the depot, they send you stock report, what you have taken and what is left. And then also, the depot also will issue a stock report, the inventory, to show what is in the tanks, what is pumpable and what is not pumpable. So we were just monitoring those records. And then when they said there was no stock at the depot for PMS, and then we said, wait a minute, at the time we have some stock there, others have stock and others. Then we said, how come stocks are dry at the depot when we have stocks there?
For jar oil,
yeah,
in absolute terms, how much was your stock balance there?
I will get to that. I'll get to that. Just allow me. I didn't expect that you will ask me the actual figure. Stock balance, okay?
Yes.
At the time.
When was this? Can you tell us?
This was last year.
2023.
To be precise.
So you said, as per your letter.
So I was coming, so when we checked that, we said, no, this is not possible. We had stock there. That is when we confronted. Said, how come you guys are out of stock when our stock are there?
Okay.
And then it becomes a big decision. We summoned a meeting.
Who summoned the meeting?
We, the OMCs.
Okay.
To see how is this possible. Then we asked each and every one. Oryx said they had so and so, we said we had so and so, Star Oil said they have so and so in it. Putting all together, it was a healthy balance. So we said, where is the stock? Then we pushed. You see, so that is when we even went to GP to ask them about the stock, the missing stock. And then there was a push and pull. And then that is when they said, yes, we agreed our stock, but you said in your stock report, you said it's empty. When we have stock here, where is the stock? And that is when they said, actually,
hey, who is there?
The GP, that is the MD, the GM, they said they used our stock to pay for the missing stock of the Malians in 2021 during that saga.
They used
our stock.
Your stock, that is the stock of the OMCs, to pay for the missing stock of the Malians.
2021.
In 2021.
Very good, you repeat that.
When, in which forum did the GM say this?
In which forum? When we went to ask for, I think we had a meeting, 2 meetings about this issue. One was in his office, first time to go and confront him. And the second time, I think we had a meeting at the Petroleum, if I could remember very well, at the Minister of Petroleum, still about the matter. You know.
What was the meeting with your Vice President about?
The same matter.
Same matter.
Yeah, because we are pushing that, you know, the stock has to be replaced. So, but when, because he's not, in my opinion, he's not very good in handling people.
No, we will not get.
Let me tell you why. You tell me why did it get there?
Allow me to talk.
So because every time we have this discussion, there are pros and cons.
Allow me to talk. We will not get into passion.
I'm not very personal. I'm just telling you factualities.
What we want to do is we'll get to all of it. We want to know, with regards to the requirements, the rules, and the regulations, what should be done against what is done. This is how far we want to go. Now let's get it one bit at a time. Okay? You have a series of meetings. You have written in his office. You have written at Gulf Petroleum. You also have meeting at the Vice President's office. Which of these meetings would you say was the one that provided conclusion or closure to the issue of this stock balance?
At the Vice President's office.
What was agreed at the Vice President's office?
No, it was, that is when he was asked to explain, then he explained like I told you that the Malians were putting pressure on him that they need their stock.
Yes.
And then even though these were stock missing before he was there, and then he said when the pressure was too much on him, that is when he gave them our stock, our product.
And what was the position taken by the OMCs on that?
We asked for immediate replacement.
Eventually, where your stock balance is replaced?
Yes. For us, I don't know for the others, but for Germany, yes.
Okay. The committee will be interested to know how much was the total stock balance that was missing as at that time. And Mr. Yalo, Mr. Hyderabad, in your statement, you did indicate in absolute terms, and unquote, you said, the issue of village has always been smooth in the Gambia until the GM of Gun Petroleum, the current one, Europe, took over the depot and disregarded all normal standing practices that existed at the depot regarding village. When you say normal standing practices, what do you mean?
The norms, like I said, always on knowledge. They give these things by market shares. You look at the market shares, number one. For example, if Jawel is applying for knowledge and then applying for 5,000, yes, that could be his market share. For example, if there is a small dealer, a retailer, who is also asking for knowledge, you look at his market share. So this is how you play with the figures. You look at the market shares. And then in the nutshell, 80%, usually 80% of the space is prioritized to go to these OMCs. And the 20% can go to the newcomers or the traders. This has been the norm. And so I had this argument with him in the past, and he said, I'm wrong. I told him, well, as far as I'm concerned, I go through documents, and I always want to make sure that what I am talking about, I know what I'm saying. So that is when I made diggings to get into that board resolution, that an issue of knowledge after 2017 was an issue, because by then a regime was going out and a new regime was coming in because of the way the depot was managed. And then knowledge was dealt on. How do we handle the knowledge issue? And then because of some who were handling the market before, we are looking for to still have the greater percentage and give small percentage to those who were not handling the market like us. But what they ended up, the board, what they ended up settling down for was that, look, 80% should go, to the big players. And when you talk about big players, Jawel is among them, Oryx and the others. And then the 20%, we can maintain those for the newcomers or the new players. You understand? And this is how they always, because you have to do it by market shares. You look at the market shares.
A copy of that board resolution?
Yes, it's submitted.
It's submitted. It's part of the documentation that you will give it to the committee. Thank you. And in your submission, in your statement, you did also indicate that there was a time you noticed mistakes with regards to their calibration system. To be specific, the flow meters. Can you tell us?
Yeah, the reason why I put all these things, this is why I said you have to look at the context I am speaking from. The contextualize that statement properly for the understanding of the general public and for everybody here. You have to know why these things are coming up. Because what we have been told, like what I'm saying is, the depot's defense was, we the OMCs, especially Jawel, left them. And then once we left them, they have no option. There are times we are trying. They have to look for somebody to feed them. That's why Abuji came.
No, we'll come to that.
That's the context.
Sorry, we'll come to that. That's part of the conclusion.
Yeah.
We know when you left the depot, you went somewhere.
Exactly. And for it,
you came back.
The reasons, yeah.
So we'll come to that. Now let's deal with the issue of the formulas. How was the situation resolved?
Yeah, the way it was resolved, because when we've discovered in those days, actually, every time we sent our trucks there to fetch fuel, when we do the calibration, when we do the dips at the stations, we realize that there is always a shortage in the truck. Before we even offload them, the trucks always come with shortages. And these shortages are huge. They range between 400 liters to 1,000 liters per truck every time. So it was huge. I tabulated this, they measured in the millions. So when we couldn't bear it anymore, we went to GP to try to see how we can solve this problem because it's becoming too much. And then we even offered in that meeting that this could be a problem of your calibration system or your flow meters. But don't worry about it, since we are the one using it and we are the one making the losses. Bring an expert from wherever you can bring it. We'll pay for it. Let them fix the problem.
Yes, Messiah. Now we want to bring closer. When they said no to bringing experts from Germany, eventually people came in and realized that their flow meters had a problem. Did it stop there, or how did you resolve it? Because
I'm saying
they were missing stuff, not so. You said sometimes 400 up to 1,000 liters.
Yeah,
so what happened to that?
They refused to take responsibility. In their opinion, they said our trucks were faulty. When we know our trucks were not faulty because they were internationally calibrated and certified with authentic license, and the dates on that license are still active and not expired. You understand? So they shift the blame back to us. We went back and forth on this. We invited Wilson Mesopuras and others to come and check and investigate the matter.
And what are the functions of the flow meters?
This is the one, for example, you know, when you go to the petrol stations, you know, that dispensing machine, you know, that shows your, when you are dispensing, it shows how many liters is being dispensed. So that's the flow meter. So that shows you the measurement. That's the measurement. That's what does the measurement. You understand? To tell you, you have 5,000 liters supplied to you. But when you check in the actual fact, it's less than it in those days. Because of it's faulty. The calibration is off.
So in this case, tell us in absolute terms, when we say the flow meters were faulty, was it recording higher than what was given?
Less.
Less than what was given to you?
It was giving less. In our case, it was giving less.
For instance, now, if it says 2,000 liters have been pumped into a truck, in actual terms, how much would have been in?
It will be less than 2,000.
It will be less than 2,000. In absolute terms, do you know the number of liters that you've lost?
No, we don't know, but there was a time I had this bunch of delivery notes, like this thick.
Yeah, it would have
They're all faulty.
It would have been very useful.
And this is what I have said.
Sorry, Mr. Ida, let me just say, it would have been very useful if you had tabulated that so that the committee would know how much losses you've really endured as a company. Were you the only OMCs who were affected by this issue of calibration?
We are not the only OMCs. All the OMCs were affected. But the reason why we are the one complaining, I will tell you why. Because we are the only, one of the few OMCs, if not the only, who have their own tanker trucks.
Yes, but Mr. Yala, in this case, what happens is, indeed, Pura did indicate after they are finding that the front meters of Camp Petroleum had a problem. And they should be held liable for that. But you also, as a company, fail to substantiate how much the inaccuracy have cost.
Listen, we were able to substantiate, like I told you, we had all these delivery notes. Let me just learn so that you can understand what I'm trying to say. We had this bunch of delivery notes that were off, that were given to us. Or we do the calculation from the trucks. We were writing the differences on them.
Do you have those? Do you have those?
We have them, but the reason why I thought it is irrelevant to this investigation because of
now allow me.
It's about here. So that's why I didn't even
allow me to come. It's relevant to the investigation. It is part of your statement. We want to know how much in total are you talking about, and what steps were taken? Who took responsibility for them? So can you provide those statistics, those data also to the committee? Mr. Eder, at some point you were doing fuel deposits with GP.
Yes.
And later you went to GPS, right?
Yes.
And then you were also doing some inland importations. And later came back to Gun Petroleum. Why did you come back to Gun Petroleum?
Because like I said, the reason why we left GP in the first place, I told you, was because of this missing stuff. The flow meters are not corrected. We want to correct it. They said no, and we are the one losing money. So of course, you have to find another option rather than continue bleeding to death. So that's what prompted us to transfer to GPS, at least to minimize the losses. And then we were with GPS, things were going well. At some point, GPS also, you know, it's a private company, needed a certain space for themselves. And then before then, even we realized that the depot at some point have invited somebody, an expert, to check on their system. So when the expert checked on their system, and then we also found out that the system has been resolved, the problem that pushed us out in the first place was resolved. That is when we said, okay, now since the problem is resolved, maybe we could go back there. And this is what prompted us applying again to go back there. Because sometimes it's not all the space. GPS is a small storage company. Sometimes all the space you need, you might not have it all at GPS.
What is the capacity of GPS?
GPS, I'm not sure, but it's less than the GP. But if GP is about 20, I think they're about 15.
15 Ego or PMS?
Ego, I believe.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, yes. You see? So sometimes they have also, it's not sometimes, they also have capacity issues. So when we realized that the GP, now they have brought in an expert, he has worked on their system, it's been recalibrated, and it's solved. So we decided to be applying there so that we can return back, because the main thing that kicked us out there was those losses.
When did you decide to come back?
Into 2023.
Which month precisely?
Around June, July, if I'm not mistaken.
June, July.
Around that time.
After being absent for how many months?
Almost a year, I think. Almost a year.
And can we say you started with GP and inland importation around June, July of 2022, and later came back in June, July of 2023?
Yes.
That would be right?
I will have to check those things, but yes, it should be precise around that time, because the problem started in 2022 towards 2023.
So the main reason why you came back to Gun Petroleum was because, one, you realized that GPS also was having capacity issues.
Capacity issues, yes.
And two, that the calibration system at Gun Petroleum was fixed. When you came back, was that the case?
Well, we have not had problems with the fuel. The time we have started dumping there, it's not long. This is just a few months back. You understand? And then the few times we have taken product from there, we didn't see much of a difference compared to before.
Are you suggesting, or are you saying that they have started approving your ullage applications now?
Yes.
When did they start approving your ullage?
I think the first approval I had from them was, what is this month in August? I think July.
July of?
2024.
July 2024?
Yes.
And you started applying to have ullage back since July of 2023? So, Mr. Jallo, between July of 2023 to July of 2023, between July of 2023 and July of 2024, the committee will be interested to have all the applications for units that you submitted to the depot. And the response from the depot.
I've submitted some of those actually.
Yes.
I've submitted them.
Yes, we would like to have all of them. Check in your records to make sure. Check in. We have some in our disposal.
I will check if there is any more.
If there is any more, please let's have those ones. fuel importations that you were doing, that is before coming back to Petroleum. Those coconut fuel importations, were they normally tested? The fuel that you were bringing over from Senegal?
Whether they are tested, they come with a certificate that shows all the tests. And this is what you have to tender at the entry.
At the entry point, that is at the border?
Every fuel that has to come into the source of this country must be accompanied by the certificate of qualities.
Who do you normally submit those certificates of quality to at the border post?
With the customs.
Well, you may say, I am a Christian, and you may say, I am a Jew. This is what you call yourself. Allah never sent Jesus to teach Christianity.
Once you enter inside, you go straight.
We'll do the necessary. We'll go to the petrol stations, but by then custom has the records of everything, and everything that needs to be paid is billed to Jawal.
Okay. So the inland importations in Senegal, what do you pay there?
Like I said, you asked me that question before. I said I will check.
No. I don't mean how much.
Okay.
What do you pay in Senegal?
What do you pay as regards to?
Among the variables, you know, there is a storage cost. That's one of the variables. There is tax element to be paid.
Of course, you know, Senegal, they have a regime of when you are doing an export of this fuel, there are a lot of documentations that you need to make sure that this fuel is for export. Because they have to issue you all these things. You pay fees to them. If you need list of these fees that are paid, is that what you are interested in?
But the tax you pay,
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
The one you pay on lifting. If I told you are doing the inland importation,
yes.
Where do you pay that? Do you pay it in Senegal or
Senegal, of course. There are certain things you pay in Senegal, but once it comes into the border, across the border here again, the duties have to be paid to the customs.
Yes, but the tax element on lifting the fuel itself, where do you pay it? You pay it in Senegal for the inland importation, or do you pay it?
I don't understand. Lifting the fuel where?
No, normally when traders bring their fuel, dump it at the depot in Malinari. The OMCs will pay tax based on
barang K53 itu banyak banget, takutnya ada yang kelewat. Yuk bunda yang baru bergabung, selamat bergabung. Bunda mau cari perlengkapan bayi kayak gimana? Yuk boleh komen aja, nanti aku bantu. Ayo Mama Zah, ayo mending di check outin. Kapan lagi dapat 3?
For export, they don't charge them the throughput. You know, for us that are selling here, we pay throughput. But for them, that is another fee they pay, but it's not the throughput.
For us, it's a great member.
For export purposes. So it's the same thing.
It's like Maria, great, got it.
You still pay that in the Gambia, right?
She's not here, right? Marianne. No, okay, pass.
Throughput is only for the depot. If you're using the depot. But
6888. Oh, very nice member. I like this member.
That never changed. Whether it is inland,
hi. Are you here? Hannah.
That will not change.
So what were the conditions that the ministry
Hannah, are you here?
Regulating the inland importations?
The conditions the ministry will set out a period for. For example, they will see the volume you are trying to order in. And then they will measure that volume and see, okay, this volume can be transported within a month, 2, 3, or 4. Then they will bring it there so that it will not be just an open approval, whereby, you know, for the whole year you can just be going in and out, in and out, in and out. So they will cap it at some point. So if at all that cap is finished and you still have some amount left there, you have to bring them to proofs of that. Then they might give you an extension, but it is always capped.
Did you receive any extension from the ministry?
As far as I'm concerned, for Maybe one of the, I think one of such application, I will double check that, maybe one, because of the volume was too much. And that was the 6,000.
How many months did this inland importation take?
Usually it takes between a month to 4 months.
And for Java?
It varies, because this is not the only time, it's not only one application we've done. Others, it takes us a month, because it depends on the volume.
Yes, if you look at the documentation slide, you said from July 2023 up to July 2024, you haven't received any usage fees from Petroleum. During this period, how were you managing? Was it all through inland importations, or you were also buying from other OMCs?
We were, you remember I told you we transferred to GPS.
Yes.
So we were bringing bulk of our product through GPS.
Okay.
All of them through GPS. But at some point through the latter part of it, GPS was also running, they were having issues of capacity. So they couldn't cater for all our needs. So that is when we will apply to bring overland. So it is between the GPS and overland, but bulk of it is through GPS.
No, I know I'm not supposed to call. You told me that 1,000 times.
Said you came to know about Creed through Abu. Can you tell us in total how many invoices did you receive from Creed Energy?
If I could remember, I think it's 3.
It's 3.
I submitted them.
In total monetary value?
They are on the invoices. Total, I didn't total them. But
it's almost $31,372,252.
You see it, so yes.
So now the question is, why did you settle these 3 invoices in the name of Creed? Even though that it was meant for?
Because that's what we are ordered to do, the product owner.
Who was the product owner?
Apoji.
Now step us through the process. If you receive these invoices, what do?
You receive the invoice
to try to have physical access to the petroleum product itself.
When you receive the invoice, that tells you how much you are supposed to settle them before they release it. So you process the payment, instruct your bank to do the payment. And once the payment is done, you send a SWIFT copy or proof of payment that you have paid.
You send it who?
With Apoji actually, the seller.
Okay.
And then once you do that and they confirm it, they release the product.
How do they release the product?
They will instruct the depot.
They will instruct the depot?
They will give what they call a release order.
A release order?
To the depot. They release so-and-so amount to Java.
How does the depot verify? Is there any way that the depot would have known that Apodi was using Creed Energy's invoices to pay you?
I cannot tell whether they will know or they didn't know. All I know is, as far as we are concerned, once we conclude a transaction, they being the product owner will instruct the depot that release so-and-so quantity to Java company or whatever company. And then the release order will be passed to us, and then we send our trucks and pick it up.
Now let's look at the way you do the settlements. Where were you making the payments? Was it into Apodi's accounts?
When you look at the bank details, it clearly says Creed Energy. So even the checks also it bears Creed Energy. So that shows it is going into Creed Energy's account.
So you were telling us the product belongs to Apodi?
That's what I believe.
when you make request from Apodi, they bill you.
Where did Mary come from?
Invoices.
Before she gave birth to
And when
Jesus,
are
you have to
making
know about it.
You make payments to people.
Not a single verse in the Bible, in the doctrine. From the book of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, the book of Joshua, First King,
ownership of the product which they have at the level. Is this the norm with other traders that you tell?
Whether it is the norm with other traders, I would say no, because for example, if it was PSTV or Trafigura, when you purchase from them, the invoice will come from them. And then once the invoice comes from them, they will put their bank details on it. And you pay to those bank details bearing their name. And then that's it. Then once they confirm it, they give you a release order through the depot for you to go and pick up. That's the norm, as far as I'm concerned.
So what is the difference between the two?
The difference between the two is this one is a little bit more creepy. And I don't know why they have that. They have it, that multi-layered form, whereby either instead of going direct, you go indirect. There's no to that.
Direct would have been.
Direct would have been, yes. I'm doing a business negotiation with company A. Company A invoice me, and I pay it to company A.
In this case, let's use the actual terms of the companies. Direct would have been.
Would have been, for example, if Apodi is selling to you, Apodi gives you an invoice bearing Apodi with your account name.
In this case, Apodi is selling to you. Direct would have been.
Yeah, that's what I mean, direct. But instead, it's like, it's indirect this time because you're going through greed.
So instead of Apodi giving you their invoices and you paying into their account, they are giving you Clean Energy. But did you meet personnel from Clean Energy during this entire?
Personally, I don't.
You did not. Which means Apodi was the one who sold to you.
That's what I assume, yes. Because they're the one who were the product owners.
In the invoice that was sent to you from Clean Energy, it was sent by one Mr. Clement. This is the invoice. That came from Clean Energy.
Clement, yeah.
Did you meet Mr. Clement?
Personally, no, I don't.
Do you know him?
I don't know him.
Did you guys ever have any correspondence
with Mr. Clement?
Yes.
No.
Did you at any point ask Mr. Arismos with regards to why these invoices were coming from Clean Energy instead of Apodi?
Whether we asked them, why are you doing this? No.
You did not ask him. You didn't ask Apodi why they were invoicing you using Clean Energy?
No.
Why didn't you ask him?
Because if they're the product owner, they're selling to us. And then they decide that all the time, like for the first transaction, I said that earlier. I said when we saw that it is script on it, we have to verify to see if it is okay, because we don't want to pay somebody who is the wrong person. And they confirm that yes, it's okay.
Which means you did ask?
Yeah, that is for the first transaction, yeah.
And they said it is okay?
It's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, lead questioner. Before I open the floor for supplementary questions, I have few here that I would like to pose to Mr. Hydra.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hydra, exactly where the lead questioner stopped, in terms of reconciliation, Apodi and Clean Energy. I want to inquire, actually, how do you ascertain the legality of Clean Energy as an OMC in terms of registration, since the account that you are paying is Clean Energy, not Apodi? how do you ascertain the legality in terms of registration as an OMC? One. Two, I would also want to know the stocks, the OMC stock that was used to replace the Malian missing stock for 2021. What is the quantity and how much those gas oil consumed? What was it consumed? The third one would be what were the procedures before coming into force of approaching and after the advent of approaching? What are the procedures?
What procedures?
The procedure of getting this thing from getting food product from the petroleum. The procedures, the whole arrangement. The stocks from the petroleum depot. What are the procedures before the coming of approaching?
Oh. Yes. Going with your first question as to the legality and the authenticity of crude. As a business, we all have responsibilities. For example, as institutions, like in my opinion, the depot and other government agencies that regulates petroleum products and also businesses should be in a better position to know if these people have met their legal requirements in the country. But for us as buyers at the receiving end, all we are looking for is product. And we believe, and it has always been the norm, that any product that lands into that depot, the owner of that product has been duly vetted, verified, and also everything that needs to be in place paper-wise is already in place. That's why they have the option or the opportunity to put product into that depot. So, under normal circumstances, we, the buyers, shouldn't have any questions whatsoever to say that if they have met their criteria or not.
Are you telling us the product cannot fraudulently or mistakenly drop at that level without meeting those criteria? So do you...
Under normal circumstances, it shouldn't.
How about in a situation if that happens? Is it not your responsibility to ascertain that the one you are dealing with are fully registered and they met all the requirements before you deal with them? If not, you can be charged as an accomplishment to the fraudulent activity that they are doing.
You see, when you are buying internationally and when you are buying locally, the bars are different. When I am sourcing product from a foreign buyer internationally, that's what we call KYC. It's a process. You do your due diligence. Okay? Then when you do your due diligence, they also do. Who are they selling product to? They have to know everything about Java to see if these are legit company before they could even allow us to start discussing further. As a buyer also, we do the same thing. We do our due diligence. We request from them, you understand, other documentations to make sure that we are dealing with a legit business internationally. But when they are in town here, it means somebody have already done that for you. So the bar becomes low. Because the mere fact that they have been allowed entry into the country, it means that they have satisfied everything that a normal business should satisfy before they are allowed into the country. So for us as local buyers, we just follow and buy. You understand? That is the normal procedure. I'm sure you might disagree with me, but this is a normal thing. Like if I told you we are the one who are bringing Apoji into this country as Java, that we want you to become our supplier. The way they will ask us all related documents to see our legality, that's the same way we also ask them such documents to know if they are legal. Because we don't want, as a reputable company, dealing with a company who is under the shadow of a drug dealing or something else. Because that will come to haunt you one day as an international company. You might even be banned, internationally. So it's a very dangerous thing. So every company is very mindful of this. You have to know your customer. You have to know the person you are dealing with. That's why they call the KYC process, it takes a whole time. But now this one, what makes it different is, you understand, it is a registered business in the country. What makes it a registered business and what makes us believe that it's a registered business? Because they are running a system, they're running a business into the country, registered and with a bank account.
I know which of these
open in their name. I'm talking about Greed. Yes. You understand? So for us to say that we have to do their KYC when they are not even here solely for us, they're here for everybody. It will be very unfair to pin that on any of the OMCs because it is not us who brought them in. Those who brought them in, ask them that question.
And who brought them in?
That's a question I should ask you.
Then let's go to the next question. How about the stock, the visit stock that we are used to?
Several Malians, like he told me, I said, I didn't know that it's going to be relevant in this, but if you want me to provide the details of like how much was involved on our part, I can provide that for you.
Okay. Procedures before the advent of apology.
The procedures, the normal procedures before the advent of apology was very, very straightforward and clear. The procedures were, you mean for haulage or for international traders? Haulage. The procedure was very straightforward. They look at every OMC has a market share in this country. The bigger, they give you a bigger chunk, a bigger share. You understand? This is how they used to measure it. But you want to compare, for example, jar oil, you understand, with a company that has 2 or 3 stations, and you tell them that we're going to give you the same allocations. It's not fair. So what they used to do is they will give them allocation, yes, based on their market share, but jar oil also will be given allocation based on its market share. This is why it was agreed that 80%, the chunk of the space at the storage, is always kept intact for the bigger players, for the old players. And then the other balance, you leave that floating. For example, a trader comes in, he has an excess. You put it there under that 20%. So that everybody sees it himself. But they give priority to the OMCs that are registered and bona fide in this country.
Thank you. Honorable Cesar.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Mr. Hydra.
Yes, sir.
Already I have a few questions that I have noted, to guide you through. But before I get to the first question, why do you think the content of your statement,
which was about losses of or shortages of fuel, would not be relevant to the committee? Something that was written by you
to have it in your statement
for Parliament's consumption would not be relevant to what we're doing?
Yeah, relevance in the sense. The reason why that was put in that statement is to give you the context, the background of why we pulled out of GP and went to GPS. That was the only thing. These were the issues that were happening at the time. And then because of those issues happening at the time, that is what compelled us to say that, look, enough is enough. Let's move to GPS so that we can minimize our losses and stop the bleeding. Because financially we are bleeding because the losses were just too much. That's the backdrop of, I was giving a background of that, what led to us leaving GP. Because other listeners might say that, look, they're the one who just walked out of GP and GP was left empty. And because of they were empty, GP was desperate. This is why they went and brought these people to fill up their tanks. So to just answer those people's queries or questions, this is why I give you a background of what pushed us out. I don't know whether you got me.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to establish is that this is your written statement, right? And there are, whether correct or not, allegations that you were given less supplies than you should be, right? So to you that is not relevant.
What I mean relevant in this forum here is, because in my opinion we're talking about Apogee and how Apogee came into being and what happens around Apogee. So this is why I'm giving more relevance to that than this. The reason why this was given was just to give you a background information for you to understand what pushed us out of the depot.
Okay, can you substantiate this by figures?
Substantiate what? The losses?
Those losses by figures?
Yes, we have the figures.
Okay. Yes. Good. Mr. President, was Apogee having any market space in the Gambia at the time, given that huge village space at the depot?
Whether they have any market space? Space in the sense of?
Do they have OMCs that they were dealing with or that might have ordered, petroleum products from them trying to give it that space?
Like I said, before, nobody, for instance, I will talk about us. We've never heard of Apogee before. I don't know of anybody also who knows about Apogee before, as an OMC. You understand? We just sat and saw Apogee pop out of nowhere. We started hearing that there's a company that came with a huge amount of fuel. He's stopped at the depot, and his name is Apogee. This is how we come to know that there's a company in town, it's Apogee. Who brought them in? I don't know. And I don't think there's any OMC who will stand here and say, I invited Apogee here. I've not heard of any that says that. For these other traditional suppliers, like I mentioned, Travigura, ADAX, and PSTV, all these ones I've mentioned, there is always, even if it's going to be one ONC that brought them in as a base. Then they start with them, then other ONCs might also buy from them because of they are introduced by, for example, Java. And then in supplying Java, then maybe another small ONC also wants to buy from them, then they can sell to you. But for this one, it's different. There's no ONC that brought them in, as far as I know.
Okay, so it means they have no market space in the Gambia at the time. So why do you think this privilege was given to Apogee, having no market space in the country? From the first time that huge village or other space was given to them, denying the traditional, traders like Travigura and PSTV to put in their products. Why do you think this privilege was given to them?
Like I said, that could be anybody's wild. But, it could be anybody's guess. Because to be very honest, I cannot specifically pinpoint and say, this is exactly what happened, why Apogee was given privilege. If I say that, I'm not saying anything that I know for sure. But you can tell, you can read from everything that if something is not, if something is out of the norm, and then all of a sudden it is there, and then people started asking why this is happening. And I think it's the responsibility now, this is why this assembly, this body is sitting here, to establish that fact as to why were they given that privilege. But for us, as outsiders who are privy into this investigation, to go deep into it, we can just speculate, but it's very abnormal. That's what I can say.
Okay, within this abnormality, do you think there was any reciprocation of such privilege?
Reciprocation
In what sense?
So could anything happen between Apodi and Gulf Petroleum to reciprocate this opportunity?
Well, let's save that for the future. Maybe after this investigation, you would have tell us, well, we discovered that this is what happened. But for us for now, I wouldn't be able to say anything much on that.
Okay.
But like they said, there's no smoke without fire.
Okay, you told us earlier on that someone talked to you about Apodi. And you were questioned by the lead custodian that can you tell us who this was? So you should be able to remember who informed you about the person you traded with. You should be able to remember that.
Look, this must be an ordinary OMC like me. Because like I said,
please tell us.
Like I said, when you hear when I was responding, we always say informations, especially when it comes to products.
Tell us who shared this.
You understand? So I can't remember exactly which of the OMCs, but it's in one of the discussions we are having. Somebody said, I heard that, this is how you put it, I heard that there is a new supplier, there is a new trader in town. It's called Apodi. They have a lot of products. But I couldn't remember this particular person because I want to be very specific and sure of what I'm saying here.
Okay, Mr.
I don't want to speculate.
Who gave you Orimas's number to communicate with you?
Well, because when we are making inquiries into who knows these people, you understand, it's not through me directly, but I think somebody in the office told me that I can find out about them.
Who is that somebody?
That's what I'm trying to say. I think it's either in our finance department. But if you want to be sure specifically, if I want to be sure specifically who actually popped out that number, I can supply that to you.
Yes.
But I am not privy with it right now, and I don't want to say anything here. That, tomorrow I'll ask to say, you said this thing, but it was wrong. I know you will understand my situation, my position on this.
Yes, but it's about interest to know who supplied you with that number.
I will give it to you. Yeah.
Correct. How many times did you speak to Orimos?
Personally, I didn't.
You have never spoken to him? No. Then who communicated with you from your office?
Personally, because the purchasing department, there is always somebody. Sometimes it could be even my boss who might initiate the call to find out. Or in the the procurement department. But if you are also interested in that, I'll give it to you.
Pretty much, we are. My final question, my final question is about payment. Once you place an order and invoices are raised for you, you do the payment and your receipts are issued. But the strange thing that you've talked about is that the difference between the dealers between you and Apodi and the rest of the dealers, Trafficura and of the PST, is that when you deal with them directly, the invoice and the issue and the receipts that are issued to you via the name of those traders directly instead of a sub-company or a local company that represents them here. Do you pay those companies internationally or you pay them through local banks illegally? Internationally. So all your wires dealing with those companies were international. Is this the first time that you make a payment to an international trader in a local bank?
As far as I know, yes. As far as I know.
So what looks fishy about that?
Everything.
Thank you.
It could be also,
let him finish that. It could be, what could be? Let hear that out.
Chairman, let him answer that, and then you take the mic back.
What I was just trying to say is, we know, like you said, we usually pay to these people directly in an international bank and international account. But this time around, we are told that actually you can pay it locally. So what was going in our mind at the time was that maybe CRE is the one representing them locally in the Gambia. And then they're operating internationally out there, which is possible. For example, I'll give you one example, which is not exactly like this one, but just a lookalike. For example, when we were dealing with PSTV, there was a time in their latter days, they will sell to us product in large quantity, and then they will dump it in our name, Java. Then when people contact them, for example, do you have product for sale? They will tell them that all the product we have, we give it to Java. Contact them. And there are some small players who will contact us and tell us we wanted a certain quantity of product. And we will sell to them. But what makes it different this time is the product is ours. It's under the name of Java. We own it. STV just facilitated to supply us. You understand? And it's sitting in the tank in the name of Java. That's the difference there. But this one, I think it's sitting in the tank in the name of Apoji, but credit is transacting. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you very much. My question, Mr. Haidara, is that based on your submission, you indicated that during the presence of Apoji, you were denied to dump your product. I just want you to, and that led you to go to Senegal. I just want you to inform the committee, how does it affect you as a Gambian company in relation to the disapproval of your request to dump at the Petroleum depot?
Thank you very much. It affects us a lot because, for example, what is more easier? Having your product sitting in your country, in your tank, whereby you just have to send your trucks, they travel a few kilometers, fetch them, take them to your stations, and then business goes on. Compared to fetching from Dakar, you have to send all your trucks all the way to Senegal to fetch these products at, huge cost, because the cost is hourly. The fuel you have to burn in those tankers to go all the way there, and then bring it with all the bureaucracy and all the checks and balances on the way, all the way here. And then also with this thing that you have to do this on a weekly basis, continuously, just to make sure that your stations don't run dry. So it was not very convenient. But it is a way of surviving. At least to keep the stations also.
Okay, my final question. So who do you think is responsible for all these challenges that you face?
Well, I wouldn't want to blame anybody but the devil, because they're the one who is supposed to be the referee and to do the right and the right thing and the needful to make sure that space is allocated fairly. That's how it has always been. It's a public space. It has never been a private space. It's for every registered OMC in this country. You understand? Allocate them fairly. But once you have denied that fairness, and now you localize it to one person, it means then what you are creating in essence is you are not only denying them their right to function here in an enabling environment, but you are cajoling them or forcing them to go into this. Forcefully. With the few times we have bought, we already buy from these people when we are actually very tight. We know that if you don't do this, these stations will run dry, then we buy. And that's what I believe most of the OMCs are also doing. But if at all we were given the options that, look, you can order as usual, it is your choice. You either choose, buy from them if you wish, or bring your own vessel or order. Of course, we've always been known for ordering. We would have followed the process of continuing to order, but not to be cornered to a point whereby you have no choice but to buy.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Haidara. I want to ask this question. As a Gambian company, as you have alluded last year, you were registered in 2005. It was registered in 2005, and also rose to various groups, whereby Fuel also is part of Yao company. During this period, from 2017 to date, can you be specific? Which of the years are the toughest years in terms of this fuel and fuel management specifically? Which of the years that you face a lot of challenges in terms of revenue loss, difficulties in getting what you want into this fuel management, and also the loss of revenue that you anchored when you started this petroleum products?
The petroleum business actually has its toughest years, in my opinion, is 2021, 22, 23. These last 3 years has been very tough for the sector. Very, very tough. Based on so many factors. One is the issue of where it started, the product, the 2021 cycle whereby product was lost, and then people have to start again and then trying to be back on their feet. And then also you come into the 2022, you have these flash shortages, of petroleum in the country, and also the pricing, which is even one of the biggest challenges. The pricing in the sense that, the fluctuation of the FX dollar, the dollar fluctuation whereby sometimes the price structure, the amount, the dollar amount, the dollars amount to the dollar that they usually quote also, not actual. These are all challenges that the petroleum sector has been facing in these past 3-4 years, and then it's still going on. And these are the toughest years, I will tell you.
Yes, the other thing also, in recognition of a fault that you said in the April, where you and Yao and companies to see that what you're collecting, and when you come to your source, is a different ball game. And cumulatively, you realize that a lot of hundreds or if not thousands of missing lesser in terms of what you collect from the depot. And it has pushed you to a level where you've protested to see it done when it was not, the program was engaged. What must have compelled for them to agree on yes, what you people were fighting is true, and we have to pay you back what you lose. Was you people very ready to go to the courts or to take other measures as per your strong?
To be very honest, when the matter was going on, especially when the losses were happening, I personally was contemplating on taking the matter to the courts, because in one of my letters, I believe, if I'm forgetting, I even told them that if this matter is not resolved, we are left with no other option but to explore the judicial process of, looking into this matter. Because by then it was definitely dire. Like the losses were just too much, it's in the millions. And then when we realized all this, that is when we said, what? Before we waste our time here, keep losing, why don't we look for an alternative? That is when we went to GP. And even when when we did that exercise, with the weights and measures, they were there. And then once when we load these tankers, and we go and start, we station the tankers on a flat ground and do the dips, we realized that yes, there were shortages, But the resolution didn't say that actually they would reform us, and we didn't also pursue it. All we wanted, to be very honest at the time, was to resolve the matter and then minimize the losses, and then life goes on. That's all what we did.
Yeah, the final question. After your follow of this file, they made clear to you that this part of it was paid to the Malian company. oil. In your own view, what would you rate GNPC as your follow knowing the truth on Earth? They were very adamant. GB. Okay, sorry, GB. Sorry, GB. They are very adamant to tell you the fact. It was just like maybe a Concorde jet was pushed to them of trying to fire. So this is the time they realize that yes, we have to speak out the truth. What rate would you give them in this scenario?
Well, I wouldn't rate them very well, to be very honest. I will give them the lowest rate on that when it comes to that. Because actually, you shouldn't have a communication is very good. For example, if I'm going to use something that is sitting in my hand, for example, you give me some money to keep, and I want to use part of the money, but I will repay it. I will tell you, look, that money you gave me, I want to use $50 from it, but I will refund it by the end of the day. You understand? But if I don't do that, and then you come and request for that money, and it's missing $50, what would you say? You will say I stole it, because I didn't tell you. So this is it. It was not well handled, in my opinion.
Honorable Jallo, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ida. During around August 2023, when Apodi started entering the market in the Gambia, as a oil marketing companies, were you aware any policy released from the Ministry of Petroleum with regard to fuel importation in the country?
So let's see. Around August 2023.
No, the policy should be around October or September 2020.
Yeah, there were a few policies, I think one or two, that were passed to us. To be very honest, I cannot remember the full content of it because I didn't even pay attention to it, to be honest. But yes, there were a few of one or two that were passed regarding the storage of fuel. And then I think one of them was trying to say that actually you don't need to be licensed in this country to be able to store and sell fuel in this country. So what like that, I don't know.
So what was your position or the position of your company in regard of that policy?
Well, on a personal point of view, I believe that was hastily drafted, and I think it was not, in my opinion, it's not proper. Simply because if you want to come up with such kind of a regulation or a policy, first thing first, what I usually see people do, or what is usually done, is you invite stakeholders, have a discussion, put it before them, they review it, and then give it a time to look over it, ponder over it, and then before you adopt it. But for it to just come overnight like that, it's not usual in my opinion.
So, meaning the OMCs were not consulted during the process of this policy. Then on the issue of the invoice of Apodi, and then you pay to create energy, as a businessman who is involved in petrol importation or managing a large scale, almost an international company, when you conduct a transaction, for example, like Apodi, you negotiated with Apodi, Apodi asks you to pay to create energy. Does that not warrant you at least an idea something fishy is going? Especially the amount of money involved in this transaction.
To be very honest, I will tell you on a very honest time that the only thing that raises our eyebrow is we have to ask the question first. Why creep? And who are we asking is the product owner, that's Apodi. Now if Apodi is giving us the guarantee and the assurances that it's okay, pay their local representative. That puts our mind at rest. If they are fine with it, who are we to say no, we're not going to do it?
Thank you, Mr. Hector. As an petroleum importer in the country, because I think you say you have dealt with this PSTV traffic order. Okay, in a situation where traffic order ship a consignment, we'll use your company as an example, as the shipper. And then in the bill of lading, you have the consignee, Java, who own the product.
So, if the consignee is Java, but traffic order ship it to Java, Java owns it as the consignee.
What would you say if I said in the bill of lading, you have Apodi, and you have ultimate bid as the consignee, and have Create Energy as also the consignee?
The two of them?
Yes.
Well, documentarily, I think it shows that they are the owners.
So, meaning the oil deposited at the petroleum depot, according to the bill of lading, is owned by Crete and Ultimate Page.
If they are the consignees?
Yeah, they are the consignees.
Well, then there is.
Thank you.
Final question.
Maybe two questions or three. Just some questions. Thank you, General Manager, and then for your brief testimony. I just want to find out, because I know as a trader, what we are mostly interested is the availability of your product in the market. And then according to the testimony, when you had availability of the product, you just rush in to show your interest. So I just want to find out, do you like to find out the legitimacy of the trader you trading with? Whether you do try to find out that, who are you trading with?
On the normal, like I said, under normal circumstances, whenever we are ordering product from anybody outside the Gambia, we always do the needful, do the due diligence to know the company we are dealing with. But with this particular case, it's different, because we are not the one that brought them into the country. We see them just like any local player, because they are already local. But it's different if they've told we are contacting them from abroad. That is when we will do all the due diligence on them. So whoever have invited them here must have done what everybody should have done. No. So I think those questions should be directed to the person. If it is known who brought them in here, they do their due diligence on them. But for us, we just see them as local players. Local in the sense that they are operating here.
Do you also try to find out the quality of the product that you are buying? Because like when you had the availability of the product, one, you lost interest to your interest without even knowing who you are dealing with, if I can say, if I'm right. And then, in doing that, because not every product that comes or that you create, probably in terms of quality or standards, they are above each other. Whether you do try to verify the quality of this product.
Yeah, that is true. When it comes to product quality, even for us, when we order products from abroad, we don't see the product physically. So that responsibility is shifted on the depot. It is their responsibility to make sure that the product that has arrived, that is going to be stored in their tank, is tested. The certificates are all checked to see if they are in line and they have met the Gambian spec. And after that, they should take samples of it. They have some ways of testing them there. And if it is questionable, they can also send the same samples to Senegal, where they have certified labs to test these products for us. You understand? But we don't have direct access to do this. These is responsibilities that are supposed to be within the depot.
certify that product that yes, it's fit and it's within the specs of the Gambia before they would allow them to dump it into the tank. So that's a responsibility for them, not the OMCs.
Okay, my last question is like your personal, like when you were dealing with the company, the name of the invoice that was given to you, and then when it comes to payment, they give you a different name, and I think that's not normal, because according to you, there are two other companies or traders, that for them, the name that bears on the invoice is the same name that you also write on the check. But for this one, you are delivering a company in the invoice, with the name is not going, but when it comes to payment, now it becomes a different name into the account. What was your thought? Whether this is something normal?
Yeah, for me, to be very honest, in the beginning, when I saw this thing that, well, they want us, the invoices and the payments all to be in the name of Crete, for example. For me, I was just saying that maybe Crete is their local representative in the Gambia. You understand? Maybe it's their local representative in Gambia. They are the one who are doing all the local transactions. So they want us to deal with them. That's how I see it.
Thank you.
Still final one?
Yeah,
final question.
Okay, Mr. What would you say around March, April, May? Because your company is actively involved in the retail of petroleum products in the country. In your memory, can you remember around this month whether there was a fuel shortage within the country?
March, April, May of the year
2023, around the month of March, April, and May, to be paying tax because you are transacting locally within the country. It's different. Like, for example, let me put this in this way: when Japoel, your company, have a transaction with Trafigura, you make your bank payment and transfer the funds to their offshore account. That one is different when somebody is here trading with our dollars, is converting it into dollars, repatriating it outside. How would you compare these two transactions?
They're different. Because when somebody is allowed to operate locally, the impression is that he has got all his local license. That's the impression. Because if not, I don't think it's an entity that's legit that should be allowed to operate.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hedra. This has brought us to the tail end of this discussion. And request you to but we want to thank you for all the compliance from appearing exactly. In fact, before you were here. So we thank you for that compliance and with the beautiful response. We are indeed very much happy and appreciative of your full compliance. And we are together in this. We want to inquire and get the bottom of the matter so that we can add all the facts related to this particular petroleum product that was brought into the country.
Thank you.
So I want to once again thank you and release you to go back to your destination. But before finally you go, do you have anything to tell us?
I think that's all about it, and thank you very much for this time. Hopefully we can get something out of this. I don't know. But thanks a lot.
You're welcome, much appreciated.
Thanks.
Safe journey back.
Come on.